Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 87 today for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 5. Finally, we have this brand new front downforce fitted to the car. Of course, we had to, unfortunately, re-spend some resource points last episode to repurchase it, basically, and repair it, as it failed for the Monaco Grand Prix. But as I mentioned in that episode briefly, it will come into handy here at Canada. Obviously, we didn't put it to use at Monaco, but we had a very, very awesome race at Monaco. If you haven't seen that one, by the way, episode 86, be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one. Awesome recovery, of course. We had a poor qualifying, crashed out there, recovered really well without this upgrade, so it's going to come to handy in Canada, I guess, because we need the nose turned in, especially with the Force India. I think I mentioned it before. Compared to the Red Bull car I used to drive, or even the Renault, really, the Force India is a little bit less punchy in the kind of front of the car, I guess you could say. It's quite smooth and quite nice on the rear end, and it's got some great tyre wear, and just generally is a very comfortable car to drive. It just doesn't feel very alive sometimes under lower fuel and qualifying, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm getting the same speed as I used to in the Red Bull car. Of course, though, the lap time speaks for itself. By Season 5, all the teams, including Force India, have upgraded so much that all the lap times are definitely a lot smaller than they were last season. But in terms of the feeling of the car, it can sometimes feel a bit kind of just not there. So the front downforce upgrade is going to come to handy for sure. And then naturally, obviously, the Mercedes engine in the back of this car is going to be very advantageous around here at Canada. I mean, generally, through the seasons gone by, Canada's been a pretty awesome track for us, even in slower cars. The Toro Rosso, the Renault, even the Red Bull, maybe down on power and maybe a bit draggy of a car, but we've still gone very well at Canada, and actually had some pretty decent straight line speed. In terms of the wings I'm running, I've usually pretty much always ran about 5.5 through all 5 seasons of this career mode around Canada. It's still worked out for us fine, because really it's all about traction out of the zones, especially the hairpin when you talk about the last sector down that main straight, especially in the race when you've got DRS there. Really all the work's done the traction zone, and then actually the top end speed's not been too bad with DRS and rich mix going, so it can only get even better maybe with a Mercedes engine in the back of this thing. So I'm looking forward to a very strong performance. Of course, we didn't manage to do it last time in the Red Bull car. We couldn't get that 3 on the trot from Season 2 to Season 4, so let's try and see maybe if we can make up for it. And we kick off in Q1 very well indeed, fastest of the session indeed, and Perez there was in 3rd as well. So obviously maybe you got to say the Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull probably didn't turn out the wick. As I've said many times, you can always see that jump up of pace in Q3. It looks like they've not even turned it up in Q1 then, but also maybe track conditions comes into play, because you can see now moving into Q2 it's overcast conditions, so looks like we're getting towards maybe some rain, especially as you might have seen there in the garage when we're going through our setup monitor. We fast forward a little bit, you can see the weather forecast actually gave us a little sprinkle of rain at the end of this Q2 session, so that's why I've gone out earlier than I normally would in Q2 to go set the lap time. So we come across the line, keeping it on the right hand side to have the shortest run to the line. Basically we come across the line and it is the fastest of this session, and you can see unfortunately Perez is caught out. He is last there on the intermediate. So he was the one and only person that got caught out with the rain, unfortunately. And you saw there, I'm guessing all those guys, I was basically the first car out almost. So I think everyone else after me had set lap times when the rain was already starting to come down. So it was a little bit damp because it basically started raining halfway through the session. So I think we can count ourselves lucky in terms of, the fact I spotted that on the radar. And you can see here another spot on the radar was the fact that it started off intermediate and then got drier right at the end of the session. So you can see we're at the death of the session in Q3 and we're back on the ultra soft. So very peculiar, kind of going extremely, from ultra softs to inters for like literally 5 minutes of Q2 and then 2-3 minutes of Q3, and then we're back on the ultra softs. But that's going to affect the track for sure. It's going to make the track very green because all the kind of rubbered in tarmac will kind of be washed away with all that kind of sprinkles that we just had at the end of Q2. But we come across the line towards it. Vettel at the moment on provisional pole. What's it going to be for us? It's going to be P3, and we've got a Ferrari front row lockout 1 and 2, Vettel and Raikkonen. Surprising really, as I really thought a Mercedes car would have finally performed quite well, either myself with the Mercedes in the back of the Force India or the Works Mercedes team of Bottas or Hamilton. But no, Hamilton way down in P6 then, and the 2 Red Bull cars a little bit lagging, obviously, as you might expect from the Red Bull guys. But you can see there what I meant by the jump up. I improved by about 5/10 on my Q2 and Q1 lap times. Ferrari did even more than that and really stepped up the mark. So I'm sure they've got this extra bit of performance they just save up for Q3 then, and Vettel's brought it out of the bag with a very nice pole position then. So we're going to have to do some work to maybe topple the 2 Ferrari guys who look strong then from that qualifying pace. And I'm sure the Mercedes guys will also follow me behind. And Checo, obviously my teammate, has some proving to do really after a really poor decision from his side of the garage to not go out earlier in Q2. So let's go towards the full grid and then we'll head into the race.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have a Force India, Bottas, Max Verstappen, and Hamilton, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Massa, and Jolyon Palmer, Grosjean, Sainz, Kevin Magnussen, and Kvyat, Perez, Stroll, Pascal Wehrlein, and Fernando Alonso. Ericsson and Stoffel van Dorn completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So looking at the race strategy, it's going to be that normal one stop for Canada, but there is a spanner in the works of some rain coming. Definitely going to be intermediate, but there may be a chance of even heavy rain. You can see by that icon right at the end of the race. So although I'm going to keep it on super softs on the actual default strategy, more likely than not, I'll be going on to another set of ultra soft tyres, just doing 2 sets of ultras till the inevitable intermediate period about halfway through this race. So let's get straight into then. Round number 7 of Season 5 at the Canadian Grand Prix. Can it be another good one for us here around Canada? Fire lights are out and we're underway. A lot of wheel spin there from the 2 Ferrari cars. We've not had the best start either, and Vettel is off and away into turn 1. It's still keeping P1 there. We've got Bottas trying to go around the outside of me then, and he is up into P3. We're going to have to try our hardest to fight to the outside. Not got the best traction though on heavy fuel there on the outside line, and Bottas has managed to nip it to the inside. He's held his line well, to be fair to him, and he's up into P3, and I'm in a Mercedes sandwich now of a Hamilton right behind me. Meanwhile, the 2 Ferrari cars bolting away, then Raikkonen still in P2, but following Vettel closely behind then as we move on later down the line onto the end of lap 1, trying to see if we can get a toe on Bottas, maybe try a little move to the inside. Bottas goes defensive somewhat. We do have a little peak to the inside, doesn't work out for us. You can see just did not have enough momentum, enough overspeed there to make a move, and really in reality sticking my nose in there kind of hinders my line through that chicane, and so Hamilton is trying to make a move on us. We defend quite well from him there to the middle of the circuit, and so we're going to keep P4 for now. On to lap 3 then, so 2 laps later through the far chicane, this time not going up right up the end of Bottas's gearbox, but instead going and getting a really good line through that chicane across the line to lap 4. Now around the outside, meanwhile you've got the 2 Ferrari cars going side by side as well, so Raikkonen trying to take the lead away from Sebastian Vettel. We're trying to do the same to Bottas for P3. We're going to squeeze him out on the exit. We've got it. Meanwhile the 2 Ferrari cars are still squabbling there, and it's going to be Vettel on the inside line. He's managed to just about keep P1 then, and Raikkonen has been unsuccessful, but absolutely awesome ding-dong battle between the 2 Ferrari cars and myself and Bottas, going tandem 2 by 2 into the first few corners. But at the moment Vettel continues to lead this Canadian Grand Prix from Raikkonen, myself, and then Bottas, Hamilton. But now we move on to lap 4, and Raikkonen goes for another move to the inside. Vettel's going to go slow. We're going to take a nice easy line switch back. We want Vettel, but he's come across us and there's been contact. We've lost half a front wing. What on earth has Sebastian Vettel done? I don't know if that was completely his fault. May have been partially Raikkonen's, but as I tried to make a switch back, which would have worked out perfectly, I was taking a nice wide line entry into that corner, got a tighter exit for the second part of the chicane. That normally would have been a nice swoop on the left-hand side past Vettel, but Vettel swipes across there. We've lost half a front wing, and we are definitely going to have to pit. I can't drive with this much damage on the front wing. Let's take a look at a replay now, what happened. So we saw this obviously from on board, Raikkonen down the inside. Looks like there was some contact for sure. Vettel goes over the bump, and I think that's maybe what sends him into the spin, and he just spins across, smashes into our front wing. We're lucky not to have the entire thing off, and I'm lucky I didn't hit that little wall that comes out on the indent there on the left-hand side of those. That could have been race over for us, and you can see due to the yellow flags, thankfully the Toro Rosso does not overtake us. We've got a whole gaggle of cars stuck behind us at that point. But let's have a look here. So Raikkonen moves to the inside, and then Vettel is going to try and go as defensive as he can. Breaks late, but then Raikkonen shoves him off somewhat, and looks like from that angle Vettel went over the bumps there. I couldn't cut away straight away to Vettel, and then Vettel parks it up there and waits for all these cars to get past. Let's get another shot here, and from this angle it looks like he kind of bunny hopped the curb, kind of bunny hopped into Raikkonen's side pod and then got hit by Raikkonen's side pod. Raikkonen obviously is already taking the corner naturally. He can't do anything about it. He's just going on about his business. So Vettel kind of jumped into him, and that kind of reacted the car to push it left towards my car. So I don't really know. I would say that's more Vettel to blame, but in the end as well, it's just a kind of unfortunate case of him jumping over in mid-air, but that was indeed obviously his fault for not backing out earlier. So I don't know, but for another time this season, myself and Sebastian Vettel come towards. Obviously, the last time was that spin at the Bahrain Grand Prix, where it looked like, looking at the comment section, most of you guys thought that was Vettel's fault or just a racing incident. And so now, again, Vettel is involved in another crash with myself. So Yeah, I don't know. I've had altercations with Sebastian before in career modes gone by, and I guess nothing really changed between myself and Sebastian Vettel. So we're going to continue on then. We're unfortunately now with the front wing change down in P17. So quite some way down the order, so we have to try quite hard to fight back here. So we move on now towards the lap 10, chasing after and closing after Stoffel Van Dorn. We've got a Williams car, I think that was, in the pit lane down the inside. Very, very aggressive indeed on Stoffel Van Dorn, and we're up the order into P16. That was indeed a Williams car coming out the pit lane, and now we've got a car out of this Grand Prix down to 18 runners. He's parked up there on the left-hand side. I think that was Grosjean, I think. I couldn't quite remember what the name tag said, but that was Grosjean, I think, on the left-hand side. And we close up then to Jolyon Palmer, Alonso, that train of Massa as well, and then a Sauber. I think that's holding us all up there on the exit. Getting a bit of a tank stop, and oh my, what on earth has happened there? We have completely gone to Narnian back on the left-hand side. We've teleported through the wall, and now we've been reset. We've lost the position to Stoffel Van Dorn, and we've lost a whole heap of time. Thankfully, we haven't damaged the tyres or anything like that, or our car. But looking at a replay, what on earth has gone on here? I have literally transcended the track. I've broken all laws of physics in the game, and I've just gone through the wall, teleported into another dimension underneath the circuit for a split second, done a few barrel rolls for good measure, and then we've been transported back onto the track. Absolutely unbelievable. I think that's the biggest game-breaking glitch I've seen myself and that I've experienced on the game so far. Unbelievable. Crazy, crazy stuff. And unfortunately for me, I'm now down the order. We're in P14, so we've actually gained 2 positions since we had that flip, because obviously some people have made their pit stops, but we have to re-overtake Stoffel Van Dorn. And now we've got Palmer, who's overtaken Alonso already, so we have to overtake Alonso first before we even get a chance to chase after Palmer. So now we move on to lap 12 in the same place we had that flip. We have a bit of a tank stopper again, but we're going to send it to the inside there. Very, very close stuff between my left front tyre to Fernando Alonso's right rear. That was so close. Alonso kind of moved in the brake zone somewhat, so very, very close to making some contact. That would have been a nasty crash, but we make it work. We're fine in P11 then, and we're going to close up to the Russian tank of Fiat. But you can see Palmer's already overtaken Alonso. Fiat, he's probably already overtaken the Williams car and the Sauber. So you can see, I may have not lost too much time to the McLarens and the Toro Rosso, but I've lost a heap of time to the only kind of fast car around me, which was the Renault, and he's steamed ahead. So we probably lost a good 20 seconds at least, maybe more really, in that crash, because not only was it, well, a spin I should say, that glitch, because not only was it the spin that lost me time, but also as I got back on the track, I was just so flustered and kind of surprised, because it's not, every day where you're driving on the exit of an apex and then you get flipped into nowhere. So it took me some time to kind of realise what on earth was happening and engage my brain back into starting to drive again once we got teleported back on track. So yeah, unfortunately that's going to probably hinder our race quite a bit now, and it already was hindered, of course, after losing half the front wing and changing it. So now we close up then on the Sauber. I believe Pascal Wehrlein was it, and now we're going to try and make the move on the left hand side. Should be pretty easy. We slot in behind then Felipe Massa's Williams car, and now through the final chicane, trying to get as close as we can to his gearbox, but on the exit a little bit of a brush to the wall and having a bit of a wiggle on the exit. We open DRS then, and you can see there is Palmer then going off in the distance of the shot into turn 1. So we finally caught up to Jolyon, but it's taken us a fair few laps, so that's how much we've lost in terms of actual ground on the track. And so eventually we have to be a bit patient, wait till lap 14 to then make the move to the outside. Yellow flags though. Oh, there's a car. It's a Mercedes car. I think that's Bottas. I think that was. It's round the chicane. We got so close to his tapping his front wing there. So I'm actually counting myself lucky that I didn't smash into him, actually, because I kind of misjudged how close he was to the apex of the car. But this is why replay shows Bottas was fighting with the Red Bull, and his teammate Hamilton just gets it crossed up, locks up, and then goes over the curbing. And I'm guessing at this point he's waiting for all the cars to go past. But you can see, on that replay, how close I got to smashing into his front wing there after we overtook Massa, because I was just focused on going as fast as I could to get away from Massa then, and so I just didn't clock that he was there until the last minute. But we make a move then up into P6 as Checo, our teammate, comes in the pit stops then on the lap 17. So on to lap 18 then, we close up to Jolyon Palmer finally. So this was the man I was trying to overtake all the way back, towards lap 12, lap 13, and we had that kind of crazy glitch, and only now have we got back up to him to try and overtake him to the outside outside, then a turn 1, very cozy from my left front tyre to his right front tyre. A bit of an oversteer moment on the exit, but we control it well, and we're up into P5 then. And as we go through onto that 21, you can see now finally the rain's come. It's actually come a lot later than I thought, because about halfway through, you would say it would be a lap 15, lap 17 of 35 laps. So it's come a lot later. So this might suggest that the heavy rain is not going to come down. It may just be intermediates to the end of this Grand Prix. My engineer has not said anything to me about coming in, but I've just made the decision by myself. I think it's time to come in already at the end of lap 21. So we come in. Palmer's going to come in with us, but I believe Joliam, unfortunately for him, he's going to be making a pit stop onto another set of dry tyres, just because the AI coding will, but naturally put them onto the dry period. If my engineer's not told me it's time for the wet, I doubt the AI engineers will tell the same to them. So we're coming on to intermediates, but Jeff, my engineer, has not said a word to me yet. So that was all me manually deciding that I should come on. And as I exit the pits, you can see Palmer was on super softs. Checo, my teammate, comes through turn 1 there. He was on super softs. And we go through turn 2. You can see I go a bit wide, nearly on the grass. At that split second, I thought, uh-oh, have I made a mistake here? But then as we move on to the end of that lap, DRS is now disabled, which generally kind of basically means on the F1 game that it is time for the intermediates in general. And it works the other way around. Once it's kind of activated, that's generally the time to swap back over to the slick tyres. So that kind of calmed my nerves a little bit, and kind of maybe it was just me adjusting to the lack of grip on the intermediates. Of course, we went pretty well in qualifying, avoiding the intermediate period, and this is the kind of conditions where I've kind of shied away from, kind of been afraid of really in general in this game so far, because I'm really not up to scratch compared to the AI on these. You can clearly see through the final chicane, nearly planting it into the wall. Thankfully, I do control it, and we've been doing a lot of that. We've been doing a lot of opposite lock lately in the career mode to try and save the car. But we get up into P4 then, as Daniel Ricciardo has come in late for his pit stop intermediates. The same can be said of Verstappen and all them, but they had so much more of a gap to me, whereas Ricciardo did not have an entire pit stop gap on me, so he's come out behind us, and so he's ahead of Jolene Palmer and Perez, but he's not ahead of us. So we're in P4 now, and pretty much I think, unfortunately, this will be just a case of taking this to the end, and it's going to be a pretty pedestrian drive to the end of this Grand Prix. It's going to be Kimi Raikkonen that wins this Grand Prix then, so his second win of the season, I believe, so far. Verstappen in P3. I think it must be Hamilton then in P2. We come across the line for a pretty damn awesome P4, you must say, because we had that crash with Vettel, and then we had the glitch spin. So we had two major incidents. Okay, the glitch spin lost us time. It didn't make us, it didn't force us to another pit stop, but those two, again, really messed up our race, and we still came P4. Yeah, okay, fine, quite some way off P3, so we weren't anywhere near challenging the podium, but still, to get up into P4, with misfortunes of others, some badly timed pit stops, we made it work, and we turned it around yet again. So for 2 races on the trot, we've really done some great miracle work in this Force India to keep in the fight there. But there is the case, Ricciardo P6 then in the end, so he fell down the order. I think Palmer eventually actually overtook him then, so bad fortunes for the Red Bull car, but it was Raikkonen and was Hamilton then in P2, as I said, and then Verstappen P3. So Vettel, obviously, after that crash, he must have gone way down the order, and I would say kind of karma in a way that he did make it his way back up, because I'm really adamant that he could have avoided that crash if he just didn't go over the bump. Of course, let me know what you thought in the comments below. You guys had a debate about it amongst yourselves at Bahrain when that happened, and generally at that time most of you guys felt it was Vettel, or kind of slash a racing incident really, or kind of a weird one. Vettel finishes out the points in P11, so for my sake I'm kind of happy in terms of karma's sake. But in the Drivers' Championship then, Raikkonen takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship from Max Verstappen. We move down to P3. Verstappen moves up the order. Obviously, I kind of swapped with Raikkonen basically, so we're down to P3 then. And the Constructors, Red Bull have got us back in the Constructors, so forcing you back down to P3, unfortunately there. And Ferrari, though, still with a very commanding 45-point lead. So at the moment, unfortunately, it looks like not many people can still top Ferrari, even though they don't appear to be really that consistent in this. I felt like they haven't been that consistent, and yet they've scored some kind of secret points along the way and just kept it going for the top of the Constructors. But hey-ho, we'll try our best, and I'm sure Red Bull will try their best, and we're yet to really see if Mercedes and Renault are ever going to really pull up their socks somewhat. But we get a contract event, and we actually get promoted to the first driver already, which I was absolutely awesome and chuffed with, over the moon by it, because round 7 is a little bit early. Generally, I thought it usually happens around halfway through the season, really, but we've got it at round 7, so I'm absolutely chuffed with that. So we're going to get some more R&D points, then we'll get R&D bonuses in effect for being the first driver, remember. But unfortunately, we do not have enough points to really purchase another upgrade I want to, because now you can see we've pretty much done every single minor upgrade I want to on the chassis and aerodynamic side. I'm not going to focus on the engine, there's no point. I'm not going to do reliability, there's no point. We've already got a 5th column, so I think we'll be fine for that, maybe. Knock on wood, maybe I just jinxed that, but you can see now I've only got major and then ultimate upgrades to do on the aerodynamics and the chassis side, so I just don't have enough points for those. So we're going to have to wait one more race then to purchase those, and then even when we do purchase them, those are going to take 4 rounds to do for the major ones and 6 rounds for the ultimate. So now, from now on pretty much in the Force India, it's going to be a bit of a long-term play for the end of the season. So I just need to try and do the best job I can right now, and then hope the upgrades come in clutch and kind of big time at the end of the season for us to really hammer through the performances of the car. So guys, anyway, if you have enjoyed that episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you haven't, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.